Auzubillahi minash shaitani rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World this morning. I'm your host Hajra Sati, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, my senior colleague and a pronunciation guru, and I think a very wonderful face of PTV world, Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum, Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam, and thank you for the very generous introduction like you always do. Jazakallah for that.
I think you always deserve that.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And Hajra, how are you? It's been a long time after which I'm seeing you.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. But I think it's a very fine sunny morning in Islamabad, and we had bouts of rain yesterday and I think in the last week too. And the weather and the temperature has turned a little bit colder, right? And I'm always a fan of a colder temperature because I really don't want to sweat under a 50-degree centigrade sun. It is so much a sweltering summer.
It gets really sweltering, you're right.
Yes.
And especially for the people who perspire a lot, who sweat a lot,
Yes.
it gets very difficult for them. You have to change every now and then. But anyway, I mean, we have to enjoy the spring weather. We shouldn't be talking about summer right now, because we are going to enjoy a very special program today, because we have very lovely guests with us today. In the first segment, we're going to be joined by Dr. Salim Al-Malik. I will be giving you a short introduction, because it's going to be very difficult for me to give a short introduction because, mashallah, he's very well qualified. Dr. Salim is a DG ISESCO, which is Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. He has been the Advisor and General Supervisor of International Affairs at the Ministry of Education and the Advisor on Health Affairs to the Minister of Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He is also a consultant on allergy and immunology for the National Guard. And he has developed innovative methods and strategies pertaining to healthcare through resource utilization and cost containment. And also, he has been a part-time assistant professor at Al Faisal University, and also very interestingly, he's certified from the Arab and American Board of Pediatrics and American Board of Allergy and Clinical Immunology, and is married and has 5 children. So welcome to PTV World.
Thank you. I'm very honored and very happy to be with you this morning.
Lovely to have you, sir.
Lovely. Likewise, sir. So moving on to our second guest, he is obviously a very big name in Pakistan, especially when it comes to education, because he has done a lot of reforms in terms of the Pakistan's education. And I think that is also the need of the hour to update ourselves, our curriculum with the passing of the time. He happens to be Professor Dr. Mukhtar Ahmad. He happens to be Sitara Imtiaz, and he is also the chairman of Higher Education Commission Pakistan. He has done his master's and PhD from the University of California, Riverside. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. So we will start our program because Fahim, the very important conference is going on in Islamabad, which is the 5th Vice Chancellor Forum of the Islamic Countries, and they are discussing very pertinent topics, especially relating to how the knowledge production, in particular in the Muslim countries or the Muslim Ummah, is being impacted, and what sort of steps are needed to take in order to modernize ourselves. And whenever we talk about the modernization, I always say we do not need to blindly follow the modernization of the Western countries. Rather, we need to modernize in the image of Islam.
That's very true.
Yes,
that's very true. You're very right. And of course, before we talk about the conference, I would like Dr. Salim to tell us about ISESCO, the Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organizations. What's the scope of this organization? What does it do? And basically, of course, this conference is going on. What role is it playing here?
Thank you. In summary, the ISESCO is the UNESCO of the Islamic world. A few years ago, it was named as the Islamic Education, Scientific, Cultural Organization. We changed the name 3 years ago to be the Islamic World Education, Scientific and Culture Organization. And the reason for changing the name is we cannot just corner the Islamic organization into just only the 54 member states.
Right.
Islam is everywhere. It's in China, it's in India, it's in Brazil, it's in Paris. It's in fact 50% of the Paris population are going to be Muslim by 2050, as based on the studies. Now, and this is the reason why we want to be open. Islam is a religion that is open, that is speaks about resilience, speaks about coexistence, speaks about science. The first word that comes to our Prophet was Iqra. Iqra means science. So this is one of the most important things that we're doing. We're 54 member state. It was established in 1982. It's based in Rabat as the headquarter, but we have a representation in different countries, and all our member states are from Muslim countries. We currently have some observers like Russia, Thailand, and we are going to have more observers in the coming few months. There have been a number of interested countries who want to join us as an observer, and I think that would open the door for more collaboration in the area of science, in the area of culture, in the area of education, and many others. Once again, that we collaborate through the national commission of every country, and our we have 5 strategic goals, but our vision is to be a beacon of knowledge in basically science, culture, and education. We link, we collaborate, we discover, and we push a lot into empowering youth.
Yes.
And I would not say empowering women, but in fact we are giving women their position.
Right.
One of the things that we have done, that when I joined, there was only 1 woman in leadership position. Today we have 50% of our leadership positions are women. Again, youth is the future. And what we have done over the past 3 years, we really focus so much on youth. 27% of our workforce now are youth who are under the age of 30. They brought life, they brought wonder, and they brought initiative, and they look at the future that we cannot see, but we can see it in their eyes.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for addressing that very wonderfully, and moving on to Professor Dr. Mukhtar Saab. So Mukhtar Saab, the theme of the conference is towards disruptive technology in a globalized world. And I remember that when I went to Istanbul on a conference on Islamophobia, and this was one of the points that I also raised there, which is about, so we see there's a lot of Islamophobic content on the social networking sites, Nauzubillah. And why don't the OIC countries sit together and dictate their terms of references to the Silicon Valley? Because we are 54, 57 Muslim countries, and I think that's a very capitalist world, and they do not want to lose such a huge market out there. Just on the same pattern as the European Union did that to the Silicon Valley, that these are the term of the references, and if you want to comply that in our country, then you are going to work, right? So do you believe on raising this point in the conference?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think this is a little bigger question than what we are talking.
Okay.
It is a country to country at a foreign office level policy issue. But my point is that whatever this you are talking about, Islamophobia and other things, we should fix our house. We should fix our institutions. Then there will be no issue. Just dictating doesn't work in the world nowadays. Dictation is not working. Of course, I know you can tell me that those big countries, giant countries, they can dictate whatever. There are other means that through which they can dictate. The reason we have organized this Vice Chancellor Forum, and this is the 5th one, and Alhamdulillah, we started in 2012 when I was in ISESCO with them as Deputy Director General, and this was was the time when we organized the first Vice Chancellor Forum. The reason was to bring the academic head of the institution in different part of Islamic world and let them sit together and address those challenges they are facing, whether it is in education, whether it is in science and technology, or other life-related issues, so that we should go back to where we started earlier. We were leading in science, we were leading in technology, we were leading in education, but then we lost our path. We lost our way of direction which was given to us, as Excellency was telling that the first lesson came as Iqra. But we have not focused on Iqra, we have started doing something else. So the better, if we can just go and for the sake of argument, give more arguments, so nothing will happen. So let's first correct ourselves, and then we can be in better position to not dictate, but at least convince people automatically that we are not what they are posing.
Of course, you are right when you say that we need to put our house in the order, and I think that is the need of the hour. But now, Zubillah, when a very blasphemous sort of a content is coming from the Europe, for example, Charlie Hebdo is constantly publishing really off sort of a content out there. But I think that is also the need of the hour, because
yes,
Muslims' sentiments are hurt, and we do not like to see that sort of a content out there, and all that in the name of free speech, right? And we know that's not a free speech, that is the hate speech. And I think we need to do something out there to curtail that tendency, very inflammatory tendency out there. So that is why. But having said so, I think it is said about the knowledge is the common heritage of the mankind. It doesn't belong to one particular civilization. It belongs to the entire humanity, right? So Dr. Salem, moving on to you, like you mentioned about how your organization is working, alhamdulillah, for that. So what are your main talking points in the conference, and what do you aspire to be after the conference is finished?
The conference gathered number of almost like 300 universities from different countries in the Islamic world. And our knowledge is doubling almost 12 hours, every 12 hours. Now for the 21st century university, it's not going to be the university that we used to know. It has to change. It has to cope with the challenges and with the changes that's happening in the world. We're no longer talking about the science that we know 20 years ago. We're talking about now GPT. We're talking about artificial intelligence. Even blockchain now is becoming old. So we really have to look into how we cope with those changes that are happening so quickly. Now, things that has been taught in 2020 would not be even good for the 2030. In fact, the students are changing, and they are not accepting that what we taught them. By the time they graduate, they are coming into an era, or they are coming to the workplace with totally different thoughts and ideas. So what you taught in schools or in university are changing. So what we try to say, that to be a 21st century university, you have to be innovative, and you really have to cope with the changes and change yourself with what's happening. Otherwise, if you don't address what's happening and what the student wants, you're going to produce, or the graduate student, that are going to be unemployed, and that's not what we want.
Exactly, like you mentioned, innovation is the key these days, because we also see that there is a huge gap when it comes to the industry, when it comes to the educational institutions, just because of this fact that people and students are not being taught in the way that they want, perhaps, and in the way that the industry wants, perhaps. It's just the bookish knowledge, and perhaps now is the time that we have to get out of the bookish knowledge and be more practical and more pragmatic. So, as far as ISESCO is concerned, and we were talking about the Muslim countries, how they're far behind, right? Now is the time of robotics. Now is the time that we know that so many jobs that we see nowadays, they're going to be obsolete perhaps 10 years from now. So what role is the ISESCO playing in that regard? Because there are many skills which need to be taught. There are many skills which need to be instilled in people, perhaps who are in their middle ages, perhaps who are in their schools and colleges and universities. So what is the ISESCO, what role is ISESCO playing there?
Many reports came up, whether with the World Economic Forum or with McKinsey, and they're talking about really a lot of displacement of jobs. Like McKinsey came up with 400 to 800 million jobs are going to be not existing, and there are 375 million jobs. People need to change their careers. Even more than this, 85% of what was in 2020 are not going to be in 2030. So what
it actually sounds scary.
Yes, what we are doing at ISESCO is looking into the new jobs, or the jobs of tomorrow. And we have really done number of workshops, conferences, trying just to, and of course in collaboration with universities, in collaboration with institutions in our member states, trying to address the needs of the future, trying to address the importance of artificial intelligence, the robot revolutions, and all these issues that are coming. I'll just give you an example. Space science, for example. Space science industry, the expenditure today is close to 300 billion US dollars. By 2040, it would reach to 2.5 to 3 trillion US dollars. When we looked into our member state, only 17 out of the 54 have invested in space. Now by 2040, if you have not invested in space science, you're going to be left behind. It's almost like it's the illiteracy of space science. So we're pushing so much to say that space science is important. Whoever controls the space is going to control the world. And by you can lighten Pakistan and neighboring countries, Afghanistan and Iran, just only by one satellite. You can really look into the environment, the climate change, the typhoons and what happens, so many things from one side. Now, have we invested in this? Yes, Pakistan have invested. Yes, some other countries have invested, but surely that others have to invest in this. Now, take this into artificial intelligence. Now, the simple things is that children of today, there is no difference between a child who's 6 years old or 10 years old, whether he's in Pakistan or he's in the United States or Brazil or anywhere. You give them an iPad, and 1 or 2 days, they would know everything about the iPad.
That's true. That's true.
So, what yesterday I mentioned in my introductory speech is that our grandparents have changed the world when it comes to science and technology, and they have so many discoveries. The genes are still in our children. All what we need to do is just to nourish these genes, and I can assure you that the civilization of the Muslim Ummah will come back, and it will come.
And we need to channelize their energies in the right direction. Now, Professor Dr. Mukhtar Sahab, now we know that whatever he said, that's totally true, and some of the facts are even scary. Now, being the chairman of the Higher Education Commission, what does the Pakistani government need to do, talking specifically about Pakistan and some of the Islamic countries, of course, being a third world country, being, sort of making efforts in order to raise the children, raise the next generations. But we do see that I think more and more support needs to be given by the government to the institutions, to the HEC, perhaps for making opportunities for more scholarships and opening more avenues for the students. So what do you think, and on being on the state television, what message would you like to give to the government? Because I'm sure many of the government personnel would be listening to you right now. So what suggestions do you have?
Thank you. Starting from your previous point, that the scary information that jobs are going to be finished, they are scary if we will not act. If we will act, they are not scary, there are opportunity there. Basically, the initial point you were making that there is a gap between the skill set of the people who are graduating from universities and what industry is asking. That is the big issue. If we can address those things, things will be okay. And even those changing environment, as Dr. Malik said also, that we need to train our human resource. Jobs are not going to finish. The role of individuals are going to change. And accordingly, institution requirement and government requirement is to give them, give them the ecosystem, give them the environment, give them the booster, those kind of courses, so that they should be ready for take the next challenge in different environment and different climate. As far as the Pakistan is concerned, in the last 20 years, you have seen that government in difficult time even, they have kept the focus and they are contributing, they are providing resources to our higher education institution. And of course, public sector and private sector, both they are coming up. The point is that our academia, our researcher, our universities, they need to be understanding the challenges. This Excellency was right that now the knowledge is changing every 24 hours.
True.
Next day you will find something different. So we have to be very alert and very efficient to think before that is happening, so that we should be also ready to respond. And the government is, of course, the responsibility of government is also there. The state is there, that they need to keep on giving priority to education and particularly higher education, because this holistic approach of we cannot only send money to at one sector and the remaining. It needs from basic primary school, high school, college level, then of course technical education, and need to be a holistic approach that people should start going for innovation, for creation of knowledge. Our youth, mashallah, in Pakistan, which is more than 60%, they are not less than anybody. You know that recent European Union Erasmus Plus examination, the country who won the maximum scholarship was Pakistan.
Wonderful.
And I'm more happy because India was number 2. So having 10 times bigger population, and then this means that we have the potential. And Excellency is right that we have those genes. The expression of gene is depending on environment.
Yes.
The state responsibility, the government responsibility is to create that ecosystem, that environment, where expression of those genes should start again paying back, and they should be coming forward. So that is my message to the government, that we have to give priority to education. And I always say there are a few sectors we need to be determined that these are the first priority things: education, health, food security, and of course now the climate change.
Yes.
So these are the 4 things we need to focus on them and give the priority there. Whatever resources available, we have to be serious about these areas. And at my end, at HEC and university level, we need to be responsible enough to give the response. And we should be in front row. That is, I think, the ecosystem we need to create.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for so brilliantly putting it out. Moving on to Dr. Salim Saab. And I want to build on the conversation, because we were having this conversation before our show went on air. And this was about, there was a very interesting development regarding the agreement between the Iran and Saudi Arabia. And one of the points that I find really interesting in that agreement was that they decided not to use English, because English is the lingua franca, the global language, but rather they wanted to do that sort of agreement in Persian or Arabic. And I think that's very interesting, because most of the knowledge that Muslims have produced back in the golden days, you will find it's either in the Arabic or in the Persian, and there's a treasure trove of the literature on which this region is sitting on. But unfortunately we cannot learn that, because we do not understand that. So there's a disconnect between the languages. So what exactly is your organization doing to, join the bridges in terms of that disconnect, and what do you think about this language thing?
Well, I think teaching in your own language is a big win.
That's true.
Teaching in a different language is definitely a big loss. In medicine, for example, if you teach in your own language, there will be a lot of innovation discoveries, because it will be much easier for you to think, to analyze, and then come up with thoughts and ideas that you think is appropriate. Now, during the colonization, one of the most important area that whether the British or the French have done is to change the languages.
That's true.
And I think the reason why is that they want to build there's the capacity that we have in our people and the brains is to translate it into, so that everything comes into their language, not in our language. And I think that is one of the drawback. Now, if you take, for example, Ibn Sina, Al-Qanun fi al-Tibb, which was translated into more than 30 or 40 languages. It was taught for 500 years in the European university, most of the European universities. Now imagine that we have continued in the Arabic language or the Persian language or your language. I think there will be a lot of things discoveries that we have not seen.
That's true.
So we're limiting ourselves by thinking that if I don't study math or science or medicine in if it's not in English, uh, I'm not going to succeed. That's totally untrue. So I think teaching in the language, and I'm very happy to hear that this is what comes up of this agreement that broadcasting everything in either in Arabic or Persian. I think this is very pleasing to everyone of us. But once again, I want to focus that in science, even artificial intelligence, even medicine, even you name it, in space science, if we just go to our own languages, I think we will be way better than using the English, the French, the Spanish or other languages.
Yes. So thank you so much for so brilliantly putting it out, and I think we Muslims have a very rich historical and a heritage in terms of the literature, in terms of the philosophy, in terms of the science. Thank you so much Mukhtar Saab, thank you so much Dr. Saleh for coming here for this wonderful cross-pollination of the ideas. And Dr. Saab alluded to Al-Biruni and a lot of the Muslim philosophers, and I was thinking while he was talking about it that they were the philosophers, they were the mathematicians, they were the physicists, they were the chemists. At the same time, they were also the theologians, right? They were involved in the debates regarding the religious matters. But nowadays, unfortunately, we don't see that people who are graduating from the madrasas, they are very well integrated into the society, because they either end up being muezzin or being a qari sahab. So I think they should. And
there is a lot of intolerance, not to forget.
Yes, and I think it's the high time, and I think our state is doing enough to bring them into the mainstream. And the people who are involved in the theological debates, they should also be the chemists. They should also be the physicists, because this was a bright heritage, a very rich cultural heritage of the Muslims, because we were flourishing. Jabir bin Hayyan, Ibn Sina, Averroes, Al-Biruni, they were the big names that have, I think, their names are written in the golden pages of the history. So with that, we will wrap up our segment, and after a short break, we have a very interesting conversation, so don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Welcome back to our second segment in the world this morning. And today, as we know, Hajra, is the World Oral Health Day.
Yes.
And oral health is something that's ignored, that's usually not given a lot of attention. And of course, when it comes to that, people think, okay, it's very, very expensive. No, why should I go to the dentist?
That's very true, and the theme of this day is be proud of your mouth. Obviously, there are a lot of problems regarding our oral health, which my wonderful co-host alluded to, in terms of the bad breath, and sometimes the yellow teeth. Is it a problematic thing or not? So we have been joined by two wonderful dentists who happens to be, number one, Professor Dr. Irfan Shah. He is the principal of High Tech Dental College in the Texila. He's also the consultant oral and maxillofacial surgeon and a regular speaker at national and international forums. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Thank you very much for having us here.
To you, sir. And also joining us is Dr. Deena Haroon. She's a graduate of Islamabad Medical and Dental College, and she is a private dental practitioner. Dr. Deena, welcome to World this morning.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Lovely having you. Now, starting with you, sir, Dr. Irfan Saab, World Oral Health Day. First of all, why is it observed every year? Because naturally we know that we have a lot of dentists in the world, in Pakistan. They graduate every year, but yet as opposed to other medical, as they call it, fields, yes. Oral health is specifically, celebrated every year. Why is that so?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us to talk on this important topic. As you mentioned moments ago, the health of mouth and teeth is generally neglected.
Yes.
It's not given its due attention. That's why diseases of mouth and teeth are quite common. Awareness regarding health and diseases of mouth, teeth and face, it's lacking. And the purpose of this day is to create awareness. Our target audience are individuals. We want to empower individuals to take good home care of their mouth and teeth. Our target audience are schools and colleges, where we go to the universities, colleges and schools, and we teach them how to take care of their mouth and teeth. And through media like this, I'm thankful to PTV. For the last 4 or 5 years, I am continuously conveying my message to the world at large, how to take good care of their mouth and teeth.
And thank you so much. I think we are also grateful to you for creating this awareness, and obviously it takes always 2 hands to clap, right? So Fahim, I was listening to very interesting conversations regarding oral health, and the lady talked about that how on average a human body produces 25,000 quarts of saliva, and that's enough to fill 2 swimming pools.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's a very interesting conversation, and it's very important to protect the tooth enamel. Dr. Deena, moving on to you, is there a connection between our oral hygiene and our diet? Because what I infer from the oral hygiene, so the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe toothbrush or maybe flossing, stuff like that. But is your diet or nutrition also linked with the concept of the oral hygiene? What do you have to say on that?
Yes, of course. There is a big relation between what you eat and how your teeth are. They say that you are what you eat, basically. So
Yes.
it's just like that.
Yes.
And basically, we need to have a balanced diet. We need to take a little bit of everything. Like we need to have carbs and fats and protein. So if anything is taken in excess, is going to give us damage. So and oral diseases, especially, they're highly related to your sugar content. The more you eat sugar and the more frequently you eat sugar is going to damage your teeth.
And I think nowadays we have a lot of sugar in our nutrition, especially the bakery products,
yes.
the bakery items. They contain in excess of the sugar, and I think around the world there are debates going on how to curtail the sugar, because there are sugar taxes that are actually being imposed in a lot of European countries, because I was listening to this debate. Moving on to you, Dr. Saab. So,
But first, Hajra, is it true that when they say that an apple a day keeps a doctor away?
Yeah, that means actually healthy, balanced diet, not necessarily an apple only.
Okay.
So if you are taking balanced diet,
yes.
it's good for your teeth, it's good for your mouth, it's good for your entire body. So, and I would like to add to what Dina said. You need to start taking balanced diet right from childhood.
Okay.
It's not like you start it at certain age because you become conscious of your weight.
And what's a balanced diet?
So by balanced diet we mean you must take a certain amount of carbohydrates, a certain amount of proteins, and a certain amount of fats. If any of these elements and minerals and vitamins, if any of these elements is deficient, your body in general is not healthy. And if you are taking something in excess, that again can lead to diseases and disorders. For example, if you take too much sugars too many times a day, then teeth and mouth is going to be unhealthy. Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
so obviously we talked about there is a pertinent link between the nutrition and between your oral hygiene. So let's talk about the yellow teeth. So what exact, because the first conception that comes into mind, okay, if you do not, you're not regularly brushing your teeth, then you end up having the yellow teeth. But I do believe that there's more to that meets the eye when it comes to the yellow teeth. So are they damaging or are they healthy? What is the truth about the yellow teeth?
It's a very good question. Thank you very much for asking it. So if your teeth are naturally yellowish, it's just like your skin color. You cannot change your skin color forever.
Yes.
So if it is natural yellowishness, I generally recommend to my patient, don't try to change it.
Okay.
But if it is because of lack of oral hygiene, if you're not brushing your teeth and there are external deposits on your teeth, then of course you must visit your dentist and you must get your teeth cleaned, because those external deposits, ugly looking and unhealthy, they can of course be removed, they can be cleaned, your teeth can be polished, and they would look good and they would remain healthy. So external deposits, you need to go and visit your dentist.
Also, Dr. Saab, they say, okay, toothbrush, everyone knows you have to brush, right? What about flossing? How important is flossing? Also, they talk about the scaling procedures that you need to get it done every 6 months. Does it actually help? I mean, especially when it comes to the oral hygiene, and do you have to get it every 6 months?
Yeah, so you have asked two questions in fact, one flossing and one scaling, regular scaling. So your brush can reach to certain areas of your teeth. So the front surfaces can be easily cleaned with a brush. The chewing surfaces can be easily brushed, but the surfaces in between your teeth, your brush can never reach there. So it's the thread of the floss that can reach and clean those areas. So I strongly recommend flossing after every meal. food retained
After every meal.
after every meal.
I
So
see.
food retained in between teeth is going to lead to diseases, cavities, gums diseases. So if you remove those foreign debris, of course your mouth is going to stay healthy.
And so many people don't floss because it bleeds.
So bleeding takes place because you are not keeping your oral health proper.
I
It's
see.
an egg and chicken relationship. If you don't clean, your gums will bleed, and you will further stop cleaning, and it will further bleed. So if you keep your teeth clean, your mouth healthy, they won't bleed.
And it also might occur because they're doing it too aggressively, flossing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for contributing to this conversation, Dr. Deena. I think one name or one thing that springs in our mind whenever we see an advertisement related to the toothpaste is the tooth sensitivity, right, Fahim? Because
Oh,
we
yes.
have been hearing
Oh,
this
yes.
word a lot, right? So what exactly, Dr. Deena, is the tooth sensitivity, and how is it linked to the tooth enamel, and especially when it comes to the oral hygiene?
Yes, basically on our teeth we have a protective layers called enamel, right?
Okay.
When it gets too thin, we feel sensitive. And other than that, we also feel sensitivity when our roots are exposed. And roots are exposed because we don't clean our teeth and the gums recede, and then we have, and the plaque accumulates, and then we feel sensitive. So, this is all basically related to your oral hygiene. If they say that you need to nip the evil in the bud. So if you try to keep your oral hygiene maintained, then none of this is going to happen. And
So, so if I would add to that, keeping our mouth clean has been advised to us by our Holy Prophet.
Sallallahu
1400 years ago, he told us to brush or maswak your teeth 5 times a day. Our standard professional recommendation is that if you cannot do it 5 times, at least 2 times a day.
At least.
And I would like to mention here that generally people brush twice, but they do it wrongly. So you actually need to do it after your dinner
Okay,
and after your breakfast.
okay.
And then you try to avoid eating anything for the next half an hour, so that your teeth and mouth remains healthy.
Okay.
What I would like to emphasize is that again and again you would listen us hearing saying oral hygiene, brushing and flossing. Most of the diseases of mouth and teeth are related to poor oral hygiene. And if you maintain good oral hygiene, your mouth will remain disease free.
Right.
Also, Hajra, you also must have seen it in the markets and on the packs of cigarettes. We have a very
Yes.
morbid and morose picture of oral cancer.
Yeah.
Now, is smoking the only cause of oral cancer?
I'm very happy that you brought that topic to discussion, because oral cancer is one of my favorite topics that I talk on, and I roam around the world and I speak on oral cancer. And generally those who smoke don't like me because I strongly speak against smoking. Tobacco in any form actually, not only smoking, non-smoked tobacco in the form of naswar and other products.
Right.
It's like asking Allah to give me cancer. So tobacco contains tens of carcinogens, cancer-causing chemicals, and if you are putting it daily in your mouth, you are asking Allah, oh God, give me cancer. So tobacco is the most significant cause, but it's not the only. Thank God we are not consuming alcohol that much, but alcohol is the second most common cause, and the two together actually have a synergistic effect. So if you are smoking and if you are drinking, then the possibility of getting cancer is very, very more high.
But don't many of the mouthwashes have alcohol?
No, so
Yes.
that is like controlled use of alcohol,
I
and that is
see.
like topical use of alcohol. If you consume it, if you ingest it, then that's a big problem.
Okay.
And it's not only these two things. So as you mentioned, Hajra,
Yes.
if you are not consuming nutritious diet
Yes.
and you're malnourished, that is a predisposition to cancer. If you are exposed to sun too much, your lips and cheeks can develop cancer. So there are multiple factors, and together they ultimately lead to cancer. Unfortunately, it's very common, and awareness regarding this oral cancer is very, very dismal.
Yes.
People know about blood cancer, people know about breast cancer, but very few know about oral cancer. Oral cancer is actually the 6th most common cancer in the world, and the 2nd most common cancer in our part of the world, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. So if breast cancer is the most common, oral cancer is the 2nd most common. And we need to create awareness regarding oral cancer, and it's programs like this that lead to creation of awareness.
Alhamdulillah. So, Dr. Deena, moving on to you and developing this conversation forward, what role do you see the folic acid and vitamin D playing out when we talk about oral hygiene? So, what do you have to say on that?
Again, I would like to say that we need to include everything in our diet, right? So, as it says, the famous saying is that we need to have everything in moderation. Anything less, anything more is going to harm us. So, if we're not
So, if I would add to that, milk is a rich source of vitamins and proteins, and if you start consuming milk from early in your childhood, your teeth remain strong and they stay strong.
Okay.
So, if you are deficient in calcium or vitamin D, vitamin
Right.
D actually leads to absorption of calcium and then its metabolism, and the main component of teeth, the hard structure of teeth, is actually calcium.
Okay.
So, if you have ample quantities of calcium and vitamin D, your teeth are made strong and they remain strong. And the other significant component is then fluoride. Fluoride actually fight cavities. That's why we advise fluoridated toothpastes and fluoridated water.
Right.
So, if you have everything like we mentioned in balanced diet, then your teeth remain strong.
And I think one thing that is particularly we are sure about is, Fahim, that when we were growing up, our mothers were very strict about not consuming a lot of candies and not consuming a lot of chocolates. And one of the reason our moms would cite is that danton mein keeda lag jayega, right?
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that is particularly a reason that we need to have this conversation regarding the oral hygiene. So, Dr. Saab, why don't you shed some light on what exactly is danton ka keeda and how can we tackle it, especially when we are having this conversation surrounding the kids?
Well, our parents were of course much more wiser than us.
Yes,
So,
yes.
they had never seen bacteria, but they used to call it keeda.
Keeda like that.
So, it's a combination of tooth structure,
Yes.
sugars and bacteria.
Okay.
If these three combine and they stay on teeth for longer period of time, if you don't brush your teeth timely, then those bacteria actually start attacking your teeth.
Okay.
In the presence of sugar, those bacteria ferment this sugar and they lead to production of acids. Now, acid coming in contact with teeth would actually lead to indentation and cavity formation. That's why again and again we say that you need to keep your mouth and teeth clean and your teeth will remain healthy. Even if you are keeping them clean and neat, there is still a tendency to develop cavities. We call them caries in medical terms, but the
Caries,
possibility
right.
and the probability goes down.
Okay.
Also, sir, first of all, how old should a child be when he should start brushing? A, and B, there are some children, their teeth start withering away, and they don't even use the feeder to have milk,
Yes.
but their teeth start withering away. What's the reason for that, basically, and about the age of the children as well?
Yeah, so again a misconception. Parents generally believe that milk teeth are going to stay for a couple of years and then they are going to shed, so maybe we don't need to take that much care.
Right.
But milk teeth are as significant for that part of the age of the life of the child, for as long as they are going to stay. So the parents should start brushing their teeth themselves because the child is not able to do it as yet.
True, true.
And as soon as a child understands and can practice what we call dexterous, once the child starts getting these skills, then they should start brushing their milk teeth as early as possible. The other question was regarding
Wearing away of the
wearing
tooth
away. Okay,
enamel.
so specifically, if a child is consuming bottled milk and the mother adds sugar to that, and the child is consuming that when he or she is going to bed, that's the most dangerous thing. So I generally advise mothers, if you're going to feed your child through bottle, don't add sugar to that, because the child is not going to brush after that. He or she goes to sleep. So whatever you are giving, cleaning teeth after that is important, and if you cannot, don't add sugar to that. If the child is not consuming sugar again and again, it won't wither.
And also because children are children, because whenever they eat candies, they eat bars, the parents are going to, especially these days, the
Yes.
parents are going to be like, "Bacche hain, ye to khayenge," right?
Yeah.
They have to eat it, their children.
Yes. Yeah.
So is it after every time they have a sweet, are we supposed to ask them to brush their teeth?
Yeah. So when we are creating awareness, it's not only creating awareness among individuals themselves. So we want to educate mothers and fathers as well, and grandfathers and grandmothers as well. So that's why we organize free medical camps. We call them to our institutions. For example, we ran a 1-week free dental camp at our college, High Tech Dental College, and we educated countless people. So if you educate parents, if you educate one mother, it is as if you have educated an entire family. So we educate parents that these are damaging, and if you are careless at this moment, 10 years later you will regret. So educating everyone is of paramount importance in keeping not only your mouth and teeth healthy, your entire body healthy, in fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Moving on to you, Dr. Tina. So let's address a very, I think, pertinent problem that a lot of professionals aging from different age groups face. That is the bad breath, right? How it's linked with the oral hygiene, and is just not having a good oral hygiene a reason enough for having a bad breath, or there are more reasons than that?
Yes, there are more reasons than that. Most common reason is the oral hygiene.
Okay.
Most commonly it happens because we don't clean our teeth sufficiently, especially our tongues.
Okay.
Yes, so we need to scrape our tongues, and other than that, there are other reasons as well. There might be some diseases that can cause a bad breath, and it might be your diet. You might be eating things that are giving you a bad breath, and it might be also a dry mouth that giving you a bad breath.
So even dehydration causes that?
Yes, dehydration causes as well. You need to drink plenty of water, you need to avoid tobacco, you need to avoid drinks like too much coffee, too much soft drinks, and yes, these causes a bad breath.
I see.
So moments ago, Hajra mentioned a lot of saliva being produced.
Yeah.
As Allah says in Quran, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. So this saliva is a significant fluid. It keeps our mouth and teeth healthy. It flushes away the bacteria, the food debris, and it keeps our mouth clean. So if you have dry mouth, the possibility of bad breath is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for coming here. Thank you so much, Dr. Dina, for enlightening us about the oral health or oral hygiene. You wanted to add something, Fahim?
Well, there are many questions that I would like to
Yes.
ask. It's just that we're short of time, and it's a pity, but definitely we're going to have you again in the show, and we're going to discuss more issues other than the common issues. We're going to get more into detail as far as the oral health is concerned, but
If there are seconds for a brief message.
Please, please.
I would like to ask my audience at large all around the world, please take good care of your mouth and teeth. Teeth are pearl-like precious structures. If you take good care, you will be happy, you will be healthy. And as we keep saying, if you keep your mouth healthy, your entire body remains healthy.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Dr.
sir.
Saab. Thank you so much for coming here. And until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good morning.